Greetings viewers and welcome to my channel. We have an additional distinguished guest today. Mr. Kamran Rizvi is a MBA from Scotland, a graduate of Dale Carnegie Incorporated, in addition to various courses at prestigious institutions. He was with BCCI, an international bank, from 1976 to 1990. Since 1991, he has been involved in the training and development of human resources. A link to his personal website appears in the description of this video. In our last session, my guest Khusro Saab talked about greed, which creates selfishness, for which the solution is selflessness. Then, on the solution side, he talked about the second area, which is service to humanity. For your convenience, links to the previous sessions appear in the description of this video. Now let's start with the new session.
So, if you allow me, Alim, welcome, Kamran. I want to invite people who can add to what we are trying to do. And we thought you would be an appropriate guest, and we intend to invite you again and other guests. So today I want to start with a question to you, because I want your perspective. And if you have been following these sessions, I don't know if you have, what is your perspective of them? Are we going along the right lines? And do you have any questions or thoughts that you want to share with us today?
Thank you for having me, Alim Sahab and Khusro Sahab. It is an honor for me to be on this platform, which is driven by the intent to awaken consciousness so that we are able to make sense of the chaos that surrounds us globally at this point in time. And having listened to your previous sessions, not all of them, a few of them, I have come to realize that we need to rise above the mundane, the routine, and get into a domain which is something that we have been missing. You've often, Khusro Saab, referred to the invisible. And of course, we were all inspired in one way or another by Agha Hassan Abidi Marhoom, whose legacy will, of course, continue to live for a very, very long time. And most of his thoughts were captured in real management as a subject. And I do recall being a beneficiary of that while being in the bank. And it certainly expanded my thoughts, my concepts, to a point where I was able to be more patient and understanding of what's happening around me as such. The world is not a perfect place, but we can choose a path which will not only save us from doom, but will ensure that we have a better hereafter. And of course, being an unashamed believer in the here and the hereafter, I would like to, of course, speak on aspects like spirituality, which is often put aside, and we restrict ourselves to the material world, in which there's a lot of take and very little of giving. And I feel that the last session that I heard, in which you recalled submission to God, service to humanity, giving and success as the four cardinal principles that we were guided by, I thought that they need to be brought back to the surface as a solution to the problems we face these days, whether at home, whether in our community or organizations. I recall, if I may, a very simple insight which came to me from a cab driver in Karachi. And I was asking him to explain to me what is happening on this planet. And I remember 1995, even then, there were issues in Karachi. And he said to me, "Sir, it's very simple. There are just two things that are leading us to destruction and two things that will take us out of despair." So I said, "Could you please tell me what are those two things?" He says, "Greed and hatred are the two forces that we witness when we see things breaking up and conflicts that are unresolved, leading to nothing. Whereas love and generosity are the two forces that need to be brought to the fore in order to see peace, harmony, prosperity, and justice around you." So I thought that very clearly symbolizes the direction we need to take. And there are many proponents of this. And the good news is that with social media and the efforts of Alim Akhtar and yourself, such messages remain in cyberspace for eternity.
Thank you, Kamran. One thing I want to just say on what you have said, that this is not a perfect world. This is what I want to challenge, in the sense that what I am saying is that it is a very dangerous world. So just saying that it's not a perfect world dilutes my message of what I'm trying to say. And therefore, I have failed in that respect. I'm saying that it's an unjust world and that it is going to become more unjust because of the direction in which we are going. And one of the things I want to say is, and sometimes I may come across as being too negative on the world. I think we're doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. Now, here's what I mean. Submission to God or service to humanity. And all the good things, selflessness, so on, is something we should be doing irrespective of the state of the world, irrespective of the fact that we are going in the wrong direction. These things should stand by themselves. Now, the fact that we are using the excuse that we are being threatened, the world is under catastrophic proportions, is just an additional way of convincing people. We should not be convincing them, but what is in our favor is to sort of say, look, if you don't submit to God, if you're greedy, if you're selfish, then the entire humanity is going to be at risk. So today, I'm admitting that this should not be the way we should present ourselves. But today, we have evidence that what will happen if we don't. We don't have a choice. We think we have a choice to be selfless or not to be selfless. But if we are not selfless, then we're going to be selfish. And if we're going to be selfish, then we are setting a precedent. Then our children will be selfish and their children will be selfish. What is the message? Any thoughts or comments on what I've just said, Kamran?
Yes, yeah, of course. You have shared a perspective which I don't entirely agree with. I think dangerous world, as compared to an imperfect world, uh, what is the biggest danger? The danger is that I'm going to die. That's the biggest danger. And when I die, everything that I see and experience here on this planet doesn't concern me anymore, because my concerns will be different when I'm not here. So the biggest risk we run, the biggest danger we have, in my opinion, is the fact that I'm going to die one day.
But if you leave a legacy by doing good work for the humanity, you will live even after your death.
Exactly. So Alim Saab has put it so well that we must look at each day as life, as opposed to count the days in our life. That's a view that I hold. It's a perspective that I hold. And it gives me a lot of solace, a lot of comfort, because every night I go to bed, I say to myself, I've done my day's deed. And when I wake up, if I wake up, I'll ask myself the next question: God, what do you want from me today? And just that day is what matters. And for me, living a life each day is what is of the essence. And yes, dangers are there. When we go from point A to B, we'll, see foxes, and we'll see lions, and we'll see snakes. And at the same time, there will be deers, and there'll be parrots, and there'll be sparrows. So, I mean, the point here that I would like to make, and again, echoing what Khusro Saab said earlier in his previous session, one of his previous sessions, was balance. And I think that the opportunity threats paradigm is a very important one for us, that there will always be opportunities and threats in our lives, constantly. And to be able to, in a situation of opportunity, when we're doing really well, we are achieving breakthroughs and successes on a worldly plane and a spiritual plane, we must never forget that there are threats. And at the same time, when we are in a highly dangerous situation, we must never forget that in that is an opportunity. Particularly, Alim Saab, what you said, that the opportunity in threats is that you will live forever, and you'll become unforgettable, and your legacy will take you to Armageddon. So the point is, what decisions are we making at what point in our lives? And I remember my father once told me that, son, whenever you think of giving up your life for a cause, make sure the cause is worthy of your life. I recall that. He says that
Yes,
life is squandered.
and I knew your father very well.
Dildar Hussain Rizvi Saab, may Allah rest his
Yes,
soul in peace.
yeah,
Ameen Summa Ameen.
yeah. He was a very important man in BCCI, and I had a lot of respect and admiration for him. And I'm glad to hear you say that you don't see the world as going in being such a bad state as I am saying. So that's fine. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. I think I want a different perspective. I want somebody to correct me and sort
I
of
would,
say,
Khusro Saab, I would agree with you in the sense that, look, I mean, we are going through deconstruction. I mean, the current structures, the current institutions, the current philosophies are not working. Institutions, and the trust in the institutions, the confidence we have in the institutions across the globe. I'm talking of governance. I'm talking of, look at the United Nations and the mockery that we are experiencing. I mean, lives are being lost in Gaza, and the very reason for which UN was created, it's impotent. Just a couple of countries, they veto, and tragedies go on. The point I'm making here is that the farce that is going on has become so blatant and open. The world is seeing it. The world is
now
seeing
you
it.
are now you are speaking my language.
And this is
Okay.
so true. And
Yeah.
I feel that And I feel good in the sense that at last we are seeing this edifice collapse, lose credibility. This mask, the veneer of integrity has peeled off. Everything is out in the open. The king is naked.
That's well said. Uh-huh. The king is
That's
naked. Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And unless this happens, the new will not begin. The better will not come. So the demolition has to happen. The land has to be cleared, and nature is taking care of it. And this is what I believe, that nature is in itself taking care of it. And when I say nature, I mean from a larger perspective, from a universal perspective, from a spiritual perspective,
Yeah.
that this cannot go on. It's unsustainable.
We are on the same page.
Yeah,
Okay.
Khusro Saab, as planned, we had to talk about the third area of solutions, which is giving. I would like to share a quote from Khalil Gibran, which says, "You often say I would give, but only to the deserving. The trees in your orchard say not so, nor the flocks in your pasture. They give that they may live, for to hold is to perish."
No, that is well said. And I would recommend, usually I recommend a reading list, and Khalil Gibran would be one of the recommendations I would make today, together with a couple of others. So let me, uh, today's session, what I want to talk about is I want to revisit uh, traveling into the unknown. Now, if you want to travel somewhere, you need a vehicle. And what I want to address today, and we've talked about it before, and Kamran reminded us that we've talked about 4 things. Today I'm going to expand that list and talk about 7 things. And 7 is not a number which is finite. We can expand this list. But today I want to say, what are the 7 things which will become part of the vehicle? So what I'm saying is, we need a vehicle. And here are the 7 things. And I'll give very brief explanations of what I mean. Starting with number 1, submission to God. And here I will introduce that part of submission to God is meditation. You can't think about God intellectually. It's not an intellectual concept. You have to meditate. And unless you do that, you will not be able to start. So that is virtually the engine of the vehicle that we are constructing. And the second thing was service to humanity. And when we talk about service to humanity, what I mean is justice. That our focus should be on saying, is humanity getting justice? Or are we being unjust with them? Are we exploiting them? Right? So service to humanity has many connotations, but I'm adding one more, which is justice. Number 3 is giving. And you have very rightly quoted from Khalil Gibran. And Khalil Gibran also says that what you give is not yours to start with. You have been given in order that you may give. Well, you may think what I have is a result of all my own efforts and labors and qualifications and skills. You're partly right in that. But other people work hard, and some are given more for the same amount of effort. Not everybody who has skills has that reward. So Those people who are given more should not say, well, I will keep it because I earned it. It's not theirs. Of course, you must run your kitchen and you must survive and you must have enough for yourself and your family. I'm not saying that. But you have to see what is in excess. And you must give. So third part of the vehicle is giving. Fourth part is humility. And humility means uh, uh, humility means also seeking forgiveness. We must. We are not perfect. We hurt others. We hurt the environment. We hurt our family. We hurt our friends. We hurt our spouses. We are not perfect. We think because we think in a certain way that we are doing the right thing. But in that process, we must be conscious that we're not hurting others and that we're listening to them. And for that, we must seek forgiveness. When we meditate, we must seek forgiveness. Number 5, success. And I have already said that success does not mean making money or making profits. But I have never said, and I don't want you to misread, that making money or making profits is not good. It is good. But we have to go to a higher level. We have to go to a higher standard. And that is why we said, and I'm borrowing from Mr. Abadi here, that there is a unity of moral and material.
Yes.
Moral has to come in to the material. Profit has to be made morally. And our highest aim is not the making of profit, but to be moral. We still mean that we must make profits. That's a lower goal, but that's not the highest goal. What is wrong with society today is the highest goal is to make money. So we have set ourselves a very low bar. We need to revise that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to be said about each of these things, but I'm saying, I'm going to repeat this so that it is ingrained in us. The unity of moral and material. Number 6, clean instincts. Clean instincts is based on our intentions. And my reading recommendation for you is read Dr. Wayne Dyer. His book is The Power of Intentions. Wonderful book. Intentions have the power, will give you the strength, the power to do such wonderful things, provided your intentions are good. Right? If your intentions are not good, even then they have a lot of power. But if your intentions are good, then they are more powerful, much, much more powerful than if your intentions are not good.
Indeed.
Number 6, green instincts. Number 7, leadership. We badly need to create leaders. What are the essential qualities of leadership? Above all, vision. A leader should have vision. And what is vision? Vision is not fantasy. Vision is not daydreaming. People can mistake that and say, oh, I want to be this, that, I want to be the head of my country. That's not a vision. That's a desire. Not that desire is not important, but vision means that you should be able to populate it. Vision has to be populated with specifics. Not only where you will go, but how you will get there. Right? You have to sort of say, I will need these number of people. I will need this resource. What in today's language is called a business plan. It doesn't have to be documented, but in your mind, in your desire, it should be incorporated. Vision means worrying about tomorrow. Vision doesn't mean looking at the problem today and sort of say, well, let's solve this problem. You have to have a lofty vision. We are not here to just solve problems. We are here to take us into the future. We should have a clarity about what the future will look like and how we will go about it. And so what do you need for that? And I mentioned this last time, Alim, and I mentioned again. 1 + 1 = 11. Managing things means 1 + 1 makes 2. And 1 + 1 can also lead to 0 and minus, which is what we are witnessing. We are witnessing 1 + 1 = minus, when the result of our efforts is destroying the world, is making the rich richer and the poor poorer, and global warming, and the strong are oppressing the weak. That's minus. 1 + 1, the word for it is synergy. This is the role of the leader. Vision, synergy. Synergy means mobilizing people, getting them to have faith, telling them about your vision. And I think, Kamran, you will relate to this more, that we don't mobilize people by giving them money. We mobilize people if they think that their life purpose is also going to be served, as well as their personal purpose. They will give you more, because we are now relating this to applying this. Spirituality is not to become a spiritual person only. Spirituality is how you conduct everything in your life, your business, your parenting, your entrepreneurship, your country, your society, all of that. And so people will be mobilized and they will give you their life by doing not only what you are asking them to do, but doing them with all their heart. These are the 7 things which today I mean, we can add to this also. So we have expanded to 4 to 7.
Yes.
Any thoughts,
And you've
Kamran?
added, yes, you've triggered so many light bulbs in my head. So I want to make a closing remark at this point.
Please do. Please do.
On what I've heard from Khusro Saab, I'll take a minute, and then we'll have 2 minutes in which I leave it to the two of you to deal with.
Oh.
So my closing remarks are that Dr. Wayne Dyer is one of my favorite thinkers and writers and speakers. And one thing I learned from him was that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Correct.
And I find that to be paradigm shifting, number one. Number two, when you talked about intentionality, it reminded me of a very important saying which I've come across recently that says, mind is a terrible master, but a brilliant slave. And when you reflect on this thought, you discover that we are spiritual beings having a mind and a body. Now, if we subject our mind to our control, it'll do what our bidding is. Who am I? I'm a spiritual being. Mind and body are essentially the tools with which I need to function. But what has happened is we have relegated the spirit elsewhere, and we have become victims of our minds, which has led to mental health crises and all kinds of oddities that we experience today. So we have to restore this relationship. We are eternal beings. We were, we are, we will be. And what has happened is that we have made our life so finite from having been infinite that things have become very distorted. So these are my thoughts for now. And probably whenever we meet again, we can go deeper into these thoughts.
Thank you very much, Kamran. Yeah.
Thank you, Kamran. It was so nice of you to join.
It was an honor for me to be with you, Alim, and also Khusro Sahab. It was an honor for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khusro Sahab, for sharing your valuable thoughts with us. So, viewers, we come to the end of this session of the series. I hope you liked it. If so, please like and share this video as much as possible. Please also subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you keep updated with the future uploads. I will encourage and appreciate your questions and comments on this video. Please write them in the comments box. You may also send your comments and questions by email. The email address is askkelly@alimakhtar.com. All this information is also mentioned in the description of this video. Till next time, have a wonderful and thoughtful time. Thank you.